Everyone wants to know the best place to live in St. Louis, and I understand why. If you're thinking about buying a home, choosing the area can feel even more overwhelming than choosing the house itself, because you're not just picking your neighborhood. You're choosing your lifestyle, your commute, your school district, your daily routine, your budget, the future resale potential, and the type of home that actually fits your life. So when someone asks me, what are the best areas to live in around St. Louis right now? My honest answer is, it depends. Not because I'm trying to avoid the question, but because the better question is best for what? Best for space, walkability, best for schools, best for budget, best for your commute, your lifestyle, best for long-term value? Because the truth is, there is no one perfect area for everyone. There is only the right area for you, and that's what I want you to think through in this video. Hi, I'm Spencer Aguetta with Elevate Realty, and today we're talking about how to think about the best areas to live in St. Louis right now. And I want to approach this a little differently. It's not just about a list of neighborhoods, because lists, they certainly can be helpful, but they can also be misleading. A neighborhood that is perfect for one buyer may be completely wrong for another person. One person may want more space and a bigger yard, while another person may want walkability and restaurants nearby. Someone else may care most about the school district, while another buyer may be focused more on commute, and someone else might be trying to find that best long-term value. So instead of just giving you a random list, I want to help you understand how to choose the right area based on your situation, because that is how you make a smarter real estate decision. The first thing to understand is that St. Louis is not one single market. It is made up of many smaller markets, different neighborhoods, different suburbs, different school districts, different price points, and different types of homes that can all behave very differently. That means two buyers can have the exact same budget and end up looking in completely different areas, and both of them could be making the right decision. One buyer might use the budget to get more space and be further out, while another buyer might use that same budget to get a smaller home in a more established, walkable neighborhood, and yet another buyer might prioritize schools, with others prioritizing updates or proximity to work, family, parks, restaurants, or community amenities. That is why the best area conversation has to start with what your life looks like, not just the market. Because the market is going to give us options, but your lifestyle tells us which options actually make sense for you. One of the first things I ask buyers to think about is their budget. Not just the purchase price, your real budget. That includes your monthly payments, taxes, insurance, maintenance, utilities, and how much comfort you want after closing. Because sometimes buyers get so focused on what they can technically afford that they forget to ask whether that payment actually fits the life that they want. And this matters when choosing an area. In one part of St. Louis, your budget may get you more square footage with a bigger yard or a newer layout. In another area, the same budget may get you a smaller home with a stronger location or more convenience. Neither one is automatically a better fit. It just depends on what you value most. If you prioritize space, you may need to think differently than someone who prioritizes their location. If you have a priority for newer construction with less immediate updates, your search is going to look different from someone who's comfortable buying an older home with character. If you have a priority for a specific school district or commute, that might narrow down your options before we can even start discussing finishes or square footage. So before you ask, where should you buy? Start asking, what does my budget need to accomplish? Because that question will help you avoid wasting time looking in areas that does not actually serve you in your goals. The second thing to think about is lifestyle. This is where a lot of buyers need to slow down, because sometimes the home looks great on paper, but the lifestyle doesn't fit. You might find a beautiful home, but if the commute is too long, that can affect your daily life. You may find more space, but if you don't want to have to deal with the upkeep of it, that can become stressful. You may love the idea of being further out, but if you spend most of your time closer to the city, restaurants, family, or work that might not feel as convenient for you once you live there. Or you may love the idea of a more walkable area, but if you need more bedrooms, a larger yard, or more privacy, you might feel limited. That is why lifestyle matters so much. The best area is not just the one that looks good online, it's the one that supports the way you actually live. So think about your week. Where do you work? Where do you spend your time? Where do your kids go to school? Where's your family? How much do you drive? And do you want quiet and space, or do you want convenience and activity? Do you want a neighborhood feel, or do you want some newer construction, or something that's more established with character? These questions really matter because the right area should make your life easier, not just your home search more exciting. The third thing to think about is your commute. And I know commute is not the most exciting thing about buying a home, but can have a major impact on how happy you are after closing. A home can check almost every single box, but if the daily commute does not work, that can become a problem real quick. And around St. Louis, commute can change your search dramatically, depending on where you work, where your family is, where your kids go to school, or where you spend most of your time. Certain areas may make more sense than others. This is why I always want buyers to think beyond the house itself. Because when you buy a home, you are also buying the daily rhythm that comes with it. That includes your morning drive, your evening routine, how quickly you get to places that matter to you, and whether the location will still work during the busy parts of your week. Sometimes a buyer starts looking into an area because they like the homes there, but once they talk through their actual routine, another area might make more sense. That's not a bad thing. That is clarity, and clarity is what helps you make a better decision. The fourth thing to think about is schools. Even if you don't have kids, school district still matters. For some buyers, schools are one of the most important factors in their entire search. For others, it might not affect their daily life at all. But from a resale perspective, school districts can still influence demand. That does not mean you should only buy based on schools, but it does mean you should understand how schools may affect the buyer demand, neighborhood desirability, and long-term value. Again, this is why the best area is so personal. A buyer with young kids may make a very different choice from someone who is focused on commute, lifestyle, or investment potential, and both can be right. The key is knowing what matters most before you get too far into your search. Because if you've not defined your priorities early, every area can start to feel confusing. The fifth thing to think about is the type of home you actually want. This is important because different areas may offer different types of homes. Some areas may have the traditional suburban homes with more space. Some may have older homes with characters. Other might offer some newer constructions. Some might have more walkable neighborhoods. Some might offer larger lots. Others might have more updated interiors, and others might give you the location, but less space. Some might give you the space, but less convenience. And this is where buyers need to be honest. Do you need move-in ready, or are you comfortable with doing a few updates? Do you need and want charm? Do you need newer systems? Do you want a bigger yard, or do you want less maintenance? Do you want a finished basement? Do you want a home office? Do you want to be close to restaurants and activity? Or would you prefer a little bit of privacy and quiet? Because the area you choose will often determine the type of home you are most likely going to find. So if you tell me you want a newer home, a large yard, a short commute, walkability, top condition at a certain price point, then we might need to talk through what is realistic. This isn't meant to be discouraging. It's meant to help you make a smart plan because real estate is always about some trade-offs. And the goal is not to avoid trade-offs completely. The goal is to choose the right trade-offs for your life. The sixth thing to think about is resale potential. I know most buyers don't want to think about selling when they're trying so hard to buy. But you should think about your future because your life is going to change. Your job can change, your family can change, what you need in a home can change, and eventually you may need to sell your home. That is why buyers should think about how future buyers may view the area and the home. Is the location convenient? Is the layout functional? Is the home type desirable? Is the area consistently in demand? Are there other factors that could make resale of that home harder? You don't need to make your entire decision based solely on resale, but you should think through how the home works for your life. The best decision usually has a balance of both. How does the home work for you now, and how might it perform later? That is where a strong local strategy becomes so valuable. Because online searches can show you homes, but they do not always help you understand the full context. They don't always tell you why one area might be a better fit than another. They don't explain what buyers tend to value in that area. They don't show you the trade-offs clearly, and they don't know your personal goals. That is where working with someone local can help you make a real difference in your search. Because the question is not just, can I find homes online? Of course you can. The better question is, am I focusing on the right areas for my budget, lifestyle, and long-term goals? That is where strategy comes in, and that is usually where buyers start to feel more confident. Because instead of searching everywhere, we narrow the search. Instead of guessing, we compare. Instead of chasing random listings, we build a plan. If you prioritize more space, we start looking in the areas where that budget can realistically give you more. If you prioritize your lifestyle and convenience, we look at areas that better match your daily routine. If schools are important, we talk through that early. If resale is important, we look at the demand and long-term positioning. If you're not sure what matters most yet, that's okay too. That is part of the conversation too, because sometimes buyers don't need more listings, they need more clarity. And clarity helps you stop feeling overwhelmed. So when people ask, what is the best area to live in around St. Louis right now? My answer is, the best area is the one that matches your life, your budget, your future plan. For some people, that might mean more space. For others, it might mean location, schools. For others, it might be the convenience, and for someone else, it might be finding the best balance between price, condition, and long-term value. There's no one-size-fits-all, and honestly, there shouldn't be, because buying a home is very personal. The right area for someone else might not be the right area for you. This is why I recommend starting with a conversation before getting too attached to a specific neighborhood or listing, because once you understand what matters most, the search becomes more focused, and when the search is focused, the decision becomes clearer. So if you're thinking about buying in the St. Louis area and you're not sure where to focus, that's exactly the type of conversation I help people with every day. We can talk through your budget, your lifestyle, your commute, your priorities, and what you want in your next move. And from there, we can narrow down the areas that make the most sense for you. Not just base it on what looks good online, base it on what actually fits your life. If this video helped you, make sure to like and subscribe for more practical real estate advice. I'm Spencer Agetza with Elevate Realty, and I'll see you in the next one.